Welcome. Well, you are at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family, and we are delighted that you have welcomed us into your home. We certainly would love to hear from you, so you can send us an email with your question or your comment to jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and check us out on Facebook. So today we're exploring how to reverse the decline in Catholic marriages. And the question for today's show is this: what would you propose to reverse the decline in Catholic marriages? And there was an outstanding article in the Catholic Register, and we're going to talk about that. Yep. But first we wanted to talk about a great celebration that we had this weekend. My beloved has turned 70.
Yes, praise the Lord.
And so I knew you when you were 17. I started dating you. And so it's kind of like a long time. And we would love to hear from you before we go to this. What would you propose to reverse the decline in Catholic marriages? Give us a jingle at 1-800-221-9460. If you are calling and you are outside North America, 205-271-2980. We would love to hear your counsel and advice.
My birthday was actually yesterday, but a couple of days before then, we had a gathering, and that's what I wanted for my birthday, a gathering of my children and grandchildren, just to be together. And our 4 children gave some testimony as to what they thought about their father, and it was so incredibly meaningful. Others shared as well. My sister Camille came, surprised me for my birthday, and she walked into the middle of the time that we were gathered together, and what a blessing and treat Camille was to all the children, grandchildren. She shared as well. She's my older sister, so she knew a lot about my life and my family. But you know, we're talking about reversing the trend of Catholic marriages in the decline. And this is one of the ways that I believe you can do it, is that get together with your family on major things, just simply bring them together, speak about love, about the family, what we mean to one another, the commitment, loyalty, graciousness, forgiveness, and that's what we did. And you could just see those children and grandchildren catching the vision of marriage and of the family and of thanking God for somebody's life. There's another picture up there now. That was at our 40th anniversary, wasn't it?
Yes.
Marriage anniversary. Again, that's another way to reverse the trend. Stay married, be married, love one another in all realities and the good, bad, and the ugly. Invite your children and grandchildren to be open to human life. Every child is a miracle. And celebrate marriage in the midst of this culture that's confused about marriage and relates other relationships as if they were marriage. And in the midst of this culture of divorce and separation that we have, you know, we're going to have on the Mayolas with life-giving wounds, adult children of divorce and separation. That's critical to get healing in that so that you're not fearful about getting married.
Right. And we as a people of God have to be a bold witness to everything that is good and true and beautiful, no matter what this culture is doing, no matter what this culture is promoting, no matter what this culture is telling us as Christians, as Catholic Christians, what our marriages should look like. Marriage is a verb. It's about sacrifice. It's about commitment. It is not about a feeling. And you make me feel, or I make you feel. And we've done premarital counseling. When you were a pastor in the Episcopal Church, you married many, many people, and we had the privilege of journeying with them to prepare them for this life journey. And so it doesn't mean that just because you're married for 47 years that you did everything right. We did a lot of things wrong. We weren't perfect people. We made mistakes. We forgave each other. We said to one another, divorce was not an option. We are going to work through this, through thick and thin, and witness that before our children. Did we fight? Did we have disagreements? Yeah, we did. But we worked them out. Did we hurt each other? Did we? Yes, we did. But we forgive. In the scripture reading, if you were at church this weekend, it was all about forgiveness and loving. And it's magnanimous love. And that love comes to us from God and the Eucharist and confession.
So what would you propose to reverse the trend of Catholic Catholics declining in marriages, the Catholic decline of marriages. 1-800-221-9460, 1-800-221-9460, 205-271-2980. Please give us a call. We want to hear from you and get your thoughts. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, the question for today's show is this: what would you propose to reverse the decline of Catholic marriages? Did you even know that Catholic marriages were in decline? Give us a jingle at 1-800-221-9460. And because we subscribe to the Catholic Register,
we do.
and you can get it online or you can get it delivered to your home. I prefer to get it delivered to my home. I'm of that generation. I like the newspaper. I like to read the newspaper. And so I read the National Catholic Register at night. When it comes in, I get very excited. We went through this beautiful article. I was doing this. This is a great article. We need to talk about it on our show.
Yeah. And it wasn't just an article. There was articles,
Right.
because it was a whole special report on the state of marriage in the Catholic Church, the good, the bad, the ugly, the upcoming. And so we got in touch with Jonathan Liedl, the senior editor at the National Catholic Register, and finally got to reach him and say, Jonathan, would you just share with us and our audience, our family, a little bit about what you found in the study? Jonathan, you there? Jonathan, you there?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, this is Jim and Joy. Welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy. Thank you for the great work you're doing with the Catholic Register. And you know the deal. I gave you a call and I said, these are tremendous articles that you got. And then I saw that it was a whole kind of study on the state of marriage in the Catholic Church. And I just wanted you to share briefly with our family here your thoughts about that. What are the stats? Where are we going? What is it looking like for the Catholic Church and marriage?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one stat that really kind of blew my mind when we started looking into this was if you take a look at the average diocese, 60 years ago compared to now, we're at 25% of the sacramental marriages that we had 60 years ago, even as the Catholic population has gotten bigger. So what that tells us is that there's this absolute decimation, if you will, not to be overly dramatic, but of the number of people getting married in the church and getting married kind of overall. And then we think of just the consequences, the impact of that. Well, less people getting married means less kids getting baptized, less kids in our schools, less people in our parishes. And of course, because the family is the domestic church, you know, it really also represents kind of the breakdown of the transmission of the Catholic faith. And simply the church becomes sort of less significant and potent in the U.S. in society and culture. So it's a really big deal, and it's something that a lot of people have been aware of and talking for a long time. So with, as you mentioned, Jim, it's not just one article, but it's really a bunch of articles. And so we really wanted to highlight not just the sort of dire statistics, and also I think this is important too. I'm a millennial, I'm 35, just a disclaimer up front, but also to let some of our older readers know, why is dating so difficult right now, right? So kind of exploring that, but then also some really positive and encouraging things we're seeing in the church, whether it's different initiatives and apostolates, things that dioceses and parishes are doing to address this crisis. Because, it really is a crisis. We know how important marriage is, right? The sacrament of self-giving love, this vocation. And the truth is the church needs to probably be doing more to help people discern and find a spouse and enter into a life-giving marriage. So that's kind of the situation we face ourselves with right now.
What did you find out regarding premarital counseling or courses or formats? Was that a part of your report? What are you finding there? Because it seems to me we got to do a lot better job at that, of what people are hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think really the way we tried to look at the whole issue was, that we framed it as helping Catholics to I do, right? So we think of the whole multifaceted process. I'm sure any married person out there can kind of think of their own story, right, of how they first you got to meet your spouse, right? You've got to meet someone in the setting where you can get to know them. Then you've got to date well. You've got to come to know them on a deeper level, discern marriage in a way where you're really getting to, building, your connection and attraction and all those good things, but then also, setting yourselves up for of faith and family. And then marriage prep, you're right, that's like an important part of it too. On that issue, we found, it used to be the case, right, that especially we think of Catholic neighborhoods, Catholic culture, like there just used to be such a robust support network of Catholic stuff, right? And you kind of knew how Catholic marriage went because you came from a Catholic marriage family and you were surrounded by, like in the neighborhood, like lots of other examples. And so there's just kind of like, oh, this is the way it goes.
Right.
Marriage prep programs didn't need to be like particularly robust or intentional or anything like that. They could kind of say, okay, like you kind of know the drill. Here's, some Bible passages about, two becoming one, and, we're going to tell you about the sacrament of marriage and offer some prep. But I think what we found as that kind of baseline Catholic culture, right, has kind of disintegrated in a lot of ways, we're finding that marriage prep needs to be far more intentional, right? It needs to find out, where this couple is, like in terms of their own faith lives. You can't simply assume that even if someone's coming to get married in the Catholic Church, that they even know basics about Catholic sexual morality, about the sacrament of marriage, about all these kinds of things. On the other hand, you have couples who are very intentional, right? Who they might have a master's degree in theology or something like that. And so, kind of like a general program won't be helpful for them either. So we are hearing a lot about the importance of, whether it's the priesthood of parish or the diocese, sort of finding out where couples are at when they come and say, hey, we want to get married in the church. What is going to be helpful for them and kind of more tailor fit to their needs. So that's definitely one area where we're seeing the church respond.
Jonathan, thank you so much for the great work you're doing with the Catholic Register. And we hope to have you back on other areas that you're covering. And I want everybody to know you can go to the ncregister.com, ncregister.com. Look for the special report on marriage. If you look, you get to the website, top left, just click that. All the articles are there. This is excellent for you personally. You're thinking about marriage. You teach in the church regarding the sanctity of marriage. Hit that special report tab. If you want to get the Catholic Register, right on that same page up top, you can get your, just submit that you want to get the Catholic Register as Joy and I do, or you can read it there online, or you get it in paper form. So thank you so much, Jonathan. We so appreciate you. So we want to equip God's people to do the work of the ministry. Right. And if you're doing anything with marriage in your church, what great articles. So we want everybody to read those and learn and study.
Well, and Sister Lucia said this, the final battle between the Lord and the kingdom of Satan will be about marriage and the family. However, Our Lady has already crushed his head.
Powerful.
And this is Sister Lucia, who is a Fathom visionary. And the beautiful thing about that is that we who are married, young married people, people who are thinking about getting married, there is a battle. The last thing the devil wants is your marriage to survive. Not only that, he doesn't want your marriage to thrive. And a thriving marriage is being full of faith, full of hope, full of love, and being fruitful and multiplying, and being light and salt in the midst of this culture of death and selfishness. Because nobody wants to be committed. Nobody wants to take that leap. I think one of the interesting things, what I appreciated about the article, was it's good to know that there's a crisis. To see the numbers, 60 years ago, it was over 300,000 couples had gotten married. Well, in 2023, it was like down to 110,000. Like, okay, that's a big decrease. Right. And so you have to know there's a crisis to address the crisis, and then to say, how are we going to fix what is broken here? And you know what the church needs? Revival. Everybody, every marriage needs to be revived. Every marriage needs to be renewed. Every marriage needs to be restored. How are we going to set this world on fire with the love of God if we're all just kind of limping along like, oh yeah, I'm married. Celebrate your marriage. Let your marriage be the best marriage that it could be. Fight for it.
Okay. So what would you propose to stem the tide of the decline of Catholic marriages? Here's a comment. Every parish should set up a registry of single Catholic parishioners and organize Christ-centered meetups and activities for them to get to know each other. Like-minded single Catholic individuals will be provided with a space to mingle and hopefully find their holy spouse. There could also be inter-parish events to widen the reach. As for children, I believe that parents are the best catechists for their children. They follow what you do, not what you say. Tina from Facebook. So that was a lot about space for singles. Get a registry together, know who they are, work it through the diocese, help them to get together. And as our caller was saying earlier, Liedl, you know, that the Catholic culture is broken down. We've got to create a Catholic culture, and because it's so distinctive. You know, we want Catholic marriages if at all possible. Sometimes there's intermarriage, but to provide opportunity, space. There are Catholic dating sites, and some of them are just very, very sound because they're saying, what do you believe, and are you going to the parish morally, ethically? What do you believe? And having dates through that. I think there's an article in the Catholic Register, which we mentioned, the report on marriage, that this one girl went on 50, dates with Catholic guys, and she said, I want to be married. And so they would just have dates with the boundaries set up on these things, and she finally said, I met my match.
Right.
Sometimes you just got to really pursue that if you believe God's calling you to that, and have the best introductions to people that are moving in the same world of thought and morals and ethics as you are.
Right. And here's another comment. It says, encourage healthy dating for the purpose of finding who you want to marry at an early age, in all caps, and encourage marriage at an early age, 18 and as adult, and should be mature enough to do adult things such as marry. We must encourage the youth to see marriage as the sacrament that it is and strive for it. Young and have children. This is Will from Facebook.
That's great.
Well, I agree with Will. I married young. I was 19. My mother married young. My sisters, they were in their early 20s when they married too. Because the beauty of that is we grow old together. Here we are. We're married 47 years. And I never wanted anything else. As a little girl, I grew up and I thought, I want to get married and I want to have children. My mother, our parents, made that look so attractive. And that was the journey, that was the path that was set for you. Well, now we're in this culture where we have to have a career, we have to go to school, then we have to buy a house, and then we have to buy, everything has to be new. And what you have to acquire before you can establish a relationship. Well, then it's slim pickings, and you're in your 30s, maybe late 30s, and it's a different culture, it's a different generation. And I think the church needs to take it back and say, wait a minute, we need to hit the reset button. We need to get married. We need to be excellent at marriage prep. We need to be excellent at that. It's not just a box to check. It's lives that need to be set free. When we did premarital counseling, and we did a lot, there was one couple that we said to that couple, you know what? It's not good that you get married right now. You need to take some time. And they were a little offended, right? But then they realized and saw the wisdom of it. They just had some other things they had to work out. And it wasn't like we had to do the time box. It's like you're not ready emotionally, physically, spiritually. You got to be in that place.
We have another comment here. Parents must live out the example of the Holy Family for their children. If we don't live by example, young people will unfortunately become disillusioned. A family that centers their life around the example of Jesus Christ and His church, as well as the Holy Family, will surely lead to an increase of marriages. So this is from Joe from Ohio. You know, amen, it's so true. We've got to live that out, walk that. Now we can reverse that. And this is one of the difficulties. How many marriages, 1 in every 3 or 4, whatever it might be, ends in divorce? You know, or separation. And the Catholic Church is almost no different
Than the world.
than the world. And so the children don't see it, and they're actually wounded by it. They're afraid. So you mentioned it before, that children don't want to commit themselves, this and that. We got to ask the question, why don't they want to commit? Because they've been damaged and wounded by their own parents. This is not to condemn the parents, but that they're wounded, they're hurting. And we're going to have some guests on with us, the Miolas, that have a book, and they started groups for adult children of divorce and separation, life-giving wounds. You know, our children need to be healed up if they're going to venture out into marriage after what they've seen and what they've experienced. So thanks for your comments. Joy, you said it right. We need revival. We need renewal in people's lives. We need mercy. We need forgiveness. We need to be able, as Pope Francis, God bless him, we're praying for him, says, the year of hope. We need hope, grace, God's mercy more than ever in the church and in the sanctity of marriage, the building block for the church and society. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Please don't go away. Okay.
Welcome back. Well, I think it was a very full conversation about marriages and the way that we shared.
And the great work of National Catholic Register. We can't encourage you enough to go to the website, ncregister.com, get their study on marriage and the family, what's been going on in the Catholic Church, the decline in marriages, and there's some encouragement there and solutions and things we need to be doing and speaking about. How are we going to build this back up? Of course, without God's grace and renewal, we can't do much of anything, but we all need to be on the page.
Right.
So why this decline in marriage, you know, and in the family? I tell you one thing for me, you know, there's certain elements of marriage that everybody needs to know before they get married. And, you know, I hear from people all over, like they have 2 weeks of marriage, premarital stuff and this and that. But I'll tell you what, marriage is the free gift of oneself to another. Marriage is the total giving of yourself. Marriage is permanent, and marriage is about children. And that's what we began to say to our people when they came. So I said, because I want you to know this, because when you understand this, you don't get out. You can't say, oh, well, nobody told me it was permanent. Nobody told me it was just between, you know, it was monogamous. And, you know, I thought, and people are doing this. And even if you do know, sometimes people make, you know, bad decisions. It's terrible, it's painful. But we need to go over the basics and the fundamentals with our children and others and say, we want you to know the essential things. It is so glorious, it's so wonderful, but we're going to tell you this now because you can't come back later and say to us, I didn't know it was permanent. I didn't know it was this or that. So that's important that people just know what they're doing. Be sure to join us on Wednesday. We're going to have Dr. Daniel and Bethany Miola with us. They're the authors of Life-Giving Wounds, a Catholic Guide to Healing for Adult Children of Divorce or Separation. It is sure to be a great show. And remember, you're an important part of this EWTN family. You're never alone, and you're always at home with Jim and Joy. Bye now.